3 years ago, Londoners were told to lock in cheap debt, and they did. Millions of homeowners and landlords signed up for ultra-low fixed-rate mortgages, some as low as 1.2%. But here's the catch. Those deals are now expiring, and what was once a £1,200 mortgage payment is now £2,300 or more. Over 1.6 million mortgage holders across the UK will roll off fixed-rate deals this year alone. And in London, where prices are highest, the impact is brutal. Some families are now paying 70 to 100% more per month just to keep their homes. 1 in 5 homeowners say they'll struggle to make payments this winter. And the Bank of England has already warned. This is just the beginning. So, how did we get here? It started in 2020 when interest rates were slashed to nearly 0%. That flood of cheap money led to a property buying frenzy. Prices in London soared, but those rates were temporary, and now the reality is biting. Mortgage rates have surged past 5.5%, with some lenders offering products at over 6%. And those with interest-only loans, they're seeing monthly costs double overnight. This remortgage cliff isn't just a risk, it's happening now. Landlords are selling up. First-time buyers are being frozen out. And homeowners are quietly listing their properties to escape ballooning debt. But here's what's even more alarming. The number of people in mortgage arrears has jumped by 18% in the past year alone, and repossessions are ticking up again. And if you think that's bad, the rental market is even worse. Because when landlords leave, renters don't just pay more, they pay with their homes. It's never been easy to rent in London. But now, for many, it's simply impossible. Over the past 24 months, London rents have risen by more than 25%, the steepest increase in over a decade. In some boroughs like Westminster, Camden and Hackney, the average rent for a one-bedroom flat has skyrocketed to £2,400 per month, up from just £1,800 in 2022. That's an increase of £600 every single month for the same space, the same flat, often with no additional upgrades. And for context, £600 is more than most Londoners pay for council tax, groceries, and travel combined. It's not a small bump, it's a life-changing shift. For a Londoner earning £36,000 a year, a typical salary in the city, more than 45% of their income now goes to rent. That's far beyond the recommended 30% affordability threshold. Once you factor in taxes, utilities, transportation, and food, it leaves almost nothing. Not for saving, not for investing, not for living. But here's the twist. The rental market isn't just expensive, it's becoming dangerously competitive. According to Spare Room and Zoopla, many lettings agents are receiving over 150 inquiries for a single listing. Viewings fill up in minutes. Entire queues stretch around the block for open houses. Tenants are offering 6 months rent up front, sight unseen. Some are even bidding over asking for a rental, and still, people are being turned away. Shelter UK reports that more than 1 in 3 renters in London are now behind on rent or struggling to make monthly payments. In 2024, food bank use among renters rose 30%, and many recipients are fully employed professionals. We're talking about teachers, nurses, retail managers, civil servants, people who work full-time and still can't afford to eat. So what's driving this? One of the biggest reasons is that landlords are fleeing the market. Buy-to-let property owners, who make up about 20% of the UK's rental housing stock, are selling up in record numbers. In 2024, over 50,000 private rental homes were taken off the market across the UK. In London alone, entire blocks once filled with tenants are now listed for sale. Why? It comes down to costs and policy. Rising mortgage interest rates have cut deep into profits. For many, rental income doesn't even cover their monthly mortgage anymore. Energy Performance Certificate, EPC, rules are tightening. From 2028, landlords will need to upgrade all properties to a minimum EPC rating of C. That could mean £10,000 to £25,000 per unit. Post-Grenfell fire safety regulations have forced building-wide cladding upgrades, costing landlords tens of thousands. And the proposed Renters Reform Bill threatens to take away Section 21 no-fault evictions. something many landlords rely on to manage risk. So, they're opting out. They're selling fast. Each sale removes another property from the rental market, shrinking supply. And when demand rises but supply vanishes, prices go vertical. The result? A rental bidding war economy. Tenants are pitted against each other, and families, even those with steady incomes, are losing out. In Croydon, entire families are living in budget hotels. In Brent, councils are now placing people outside London because they simply can't find local options. In Newham, a rising number of working professionals are being counted among the homeless. The idea of renting in London without going broke, it's dead. But if demand is so high, why are house prices falling? Because prices are falling, but affordability is still getting worse. And the reason for that lies in what's happening with interest rates. Falling house prices, rising rents, and still no one's buying. It sounds contradictory, but it's not. Because while the price of a home is going down, the cost of owning one has never been higher. In 2022, the average price of a London home was £523,000. Today, it's around £495,000, a decline of roughly 5%. In outer boroughs like Barking and Dagenham, prices have dropped 9%. In Newham and Hounslow, nearly 7%. But that's just the sticker price. Let's look at the actual cost of owning. In 2021, interest rates were around 1.9%. A £400,000 mortgage would cost you roughly £1,200 per month. Today, that same loan at 5.9% costs over £2,400 per month, double the payment. For the same house, that means buyers now need an extra £1,200 in net income just to qualify. It's an affordability nightmare. And that's before you factor in the deposit, often 15% to 25%. For a modest flat in Zone 3, that's £75,000 plus up front. This creates a gridlock. Buyers can't afford to buy. Sellers can't drop prices without risking negative equity. Banks are tightening stress tests, making it harder to qualify. So, transactions slow to a crawl. First-time buyers give up. Sellers pull listings, and the market freezes. But there's a deeper problem, because the real squeeze isn't just on new buyers. It's on current homeowners. Roughly 1.4 million mortgages in the UK will come off fixed rate terms in the next year. Many of these were signed during the ultra-low rate era, under 2%. Now, those people are staring down 3x increases in their payments. A family paying £1,100 per month could soon owe £2,800 per month. And many can't refinance, because under current rules, they wouldn't qualify. These people are now known as mortgage prisoners, trapped in a home they can't afford, can't refinance, and can't sell. They can't rent it out, because rent won't cover the mortgage. They can't sell, because no one's buying. They can't move, because the bank won't let them, so they stay. Bleeding money, waiting, hoping. Some fall into arrears, others face repossession. And as the Bank of England warns of increased mortgage defaults, the data is proving it right. We're only at the beginning of the reset. And the smart money, it's already leaving. Because when the big money starts to run, it usually means the real trouble hasn't even started yet. London used to be the global capital of real estate investment. A safe haven where money flowed in from Russia, China, the Middle East, and the US from 2010 to 2020. International buyers purchased over £50 billion worth of London property. Entire towers in Canary Wharf and Nine Elms were sold before they were even built. But those days are over. In 2024, foreign investment into London property dropped to its lowest level since the global financial crisis. And institutional landlords, pension funds, hedge funds, REITs are pulling out. So, what's going on? First, the numbers no longer work. Rental yields are down. Most London properties now return less than 4% annually. Mortgage rates are up. Leverage is expensive. Mandatory upgrades, like EPCC ratings, cost £15,000 to £30,000 per unit. Policy risk is high. Eviction bans, rent caps, and tax changes threaten profits. The result? 1 in 5 buy-to-let landlords are selling. Institutional landlords are offloading entire buildings. Foreign buyers are sitting on the sidelines. And when that much capital disappears from the market, prices don't just slide, they sink. Developers are feeling the pain too. Many are pausing projects, some are going bankrupt. Others are trying to flip unsold units at a discount. The safety net that once supported London's housing market, deep pockets and cheap money, has vanished. And with it, the illusion that property always goes up, and the one move politicians are betting everything on could backfire in a way no one's prepared for. And you'd think a housing crash would help first-time buyers. Lower prices, less competition, more opportunity. But in London, it's the opposite. Because while prices have dipped slightly, the cost of ownership has exploded. Mortgage rates, once under 2%, now hover between 5.5% and 6.5%. That might not sound catastrophic until you run the math. A £400,000 mortgage in 2021 cost around £1,100 per month. Today, that same mortgage is closer to £2,600 per month, more than double. And lenders now demand stress-tested affordability, meaning buyers must prove they can pay 8% plus in a worst-case scenario. That's pushed many hopeful buyers out of the market entirely. It's not just interest rates, though. The average London deposit for a first-time buyer has now reached £115,000, up from £75,000 a decade ago. And with rent consuming half of most young professionals' income, saving that kind of cash is next to impossible. Even with help from family, most don't come close. This has created a vicious bottleneck. Fewer new buyers enter the market. Existing owners can't sell because they have no one to sell to. Builders can't build because the demand isn't backed by finance. And then comes the worst part. First-time buyers are still paying more than ever, for less. New builds now dominate entry-level listings. But these units are often smaller, more expensive per square foot, and riddled with hidden costs. Service charges that run £3,000 to £6,000 per year. Leasehold rules that restrict alterations. Shared ownership schemes with double rent, mortgage obligations. Buyers are promised a foot on the ladder, but once they're in, they often feel trapped, unable to staircase up, unable to sell without a loss. Even the government's Help to Buy scheme, which once fueled the market, has now ended, leaving buyers without lifelines. And it shows. In 2024, first-time buyer mortgage approvals in London hit a 15-year low. That's not a blip. That's a warning. Because the collapse of first-time buyer activity means one thing. The housing ladder is broken. And without that base, the entire structure is wobbling. So, London isn't empty. It's full of people stuck in a housing loop they can't escape. Landlords forced to sell. Renters one paycheck from eviction. Owners paying twice what they used to for the same four walls. Buyers sidelined by a system that's no longer designed for them. Landlords leaving. Developers pausing. Investors vanishing. And behind it all, policy that's trying to fix a problem 10 years too late. The city, once known for prosperity and promise, is now an affordability nightmare. Even middle-class Londoners, the people who used to be the market's backbone, are being squeezed out. The question is no longer whether house prices will fall. They are. The real question is, who will still be living in London when it's all over?